Alex Jones here reporting for Infowars.com. We're less than 24 hours into the Sikh temple shooting in Wisconsin, and already we're seeing calls to ban all semi-autos, and we're seeing that narrative hyped up out of nowhere over the last 3 years by Homeland Security and Big Sis that veterans are the number one threat, and they will attack with bombs and guns nationwide. And so we've got to have checkpoints everywhere. We've got to have the military on the streets because the veterans are evil. So the military that's about to be veterans, they've got to counter the veterans, even though in a few years they'll be on the list as the number one terrorist and have their Second Amendment restricted. Veterans are going in to buy guns all over the country lawfully, and suddenly just the instant check says no. Just incredible. And there's CBC, AP, they're all reporting that it's a domestic terrorism action. And within an hour of the shooting, USA Today was saying it was an Army veteran who had a Remember 9/11 tattoo on his shoulder. And everybody's like, oh, and a press conference is coming up here in just about 45 minutes. And the feds are going to break down what the tattoos mean, but it's definitely domestic terrorism. So the narrative is put out there when none of this is happening, and magically it begins. Yesterday I shot this video right after it happened. Is Sikh temple shooting staged to ban guns, evidence mounting? And I laid out 3 different scenarios. A, it's purely staged, purely out of whole cloth, a false flag. Our government, other governments have done these hundreds of times. It's been declassified. Mass shootings are in Operation Northwoods. They carried him out in Operation Gladio, Operation Ajax. So we'd be crazy to not look at government as one of the possible suspects, one of the main possible suspects with motive, means, the capacity to carry it out. That said, number one, government could have staged it. Number two, it could be provocateur. Hundreds of cases just the last 3 years. Even the New York Times has been forced to report the FBI creates groups and leads them and tries to get them to carry out terrorism, right-wing, left-wing, Muslim, you name it. So we've got that going on. And then I broke down the third scenario, and that's what I'm about to talk about right now. This could have been basically a Fox News mainline right-wing radio listener where all they talk about all day is the scapegoat of Muslims are going to kill us, Muslims are going to get us, Muslims are hiding under every table, Al-Qaeda is so evil, the TSA has got to fondle you and your family because just the Muslims. We've got to invade all these countries. Now the larger plan is to create a clash of civilizations. Project for New American Century wrote about that a year before 9/11. Once the West invades all these Muslim countries, it will radicalize them even more. Plus the West, going back to the British intelligence 100 years ago, but right through Hitler and then the United States, radicalized the Muslims in many countries and used them to overthrow moderate nations as a destabilizing effect. Now, I don't know what the truth is here because you've got a bunch of reports of up to 4 shooters, and it fits into the MO of a staged event. It certainly comes along right at the right time. But I want to talk about the Sikh religion because on 9/11, and this is the third type, kind of the Fox News watcher that is just in an absolutely paranoid mindset, totally afraid of Muslims and thinks that they're coming to jihad them tomorrow. Remember on 9/11, a whole bunch of businesses got shot up and people got killed who were Sikhs because they wear turbans to hide their ceremonial coiled hair. Or not to even hide it, just to contain it. And so they wear colorful turbans and they have beards. Santa Claus has a beard too. It doesn't mean he's Al-Qaeda. Sikhs, by the way, are constantly having wars with Muslims. They probably have more fights with Muslims than the West does. So it just shows how mindless it is. I even had a high school buddy after 9/11 who bragged how he beat up a Sikh outside a gas station. Later found out it was a Sikh, but that was okay because he looked like a Muslim. Again, it's just totally mindless. And it's not just that it's wrong to demonize Sikhs. It's wrong to demonize Muslims just out of hand. This is pure, absolute divide and conquer being carried out by the globalists. But the Sikhs have nothing to do with Muslims. So when I saw that it was a Sikh temple, it could have been a group of, idiot buddies, and they only were able to shoot one of them, and the others got away. That could be why there were multiple shooters who said, we'll go over there to that Muslim mosque and take them out. They're taking over. Just incredible. So, folks, if you don't believe me and you think Sikhs are Muslims, go look it up. I promise they're not. Okay, let's continue here. I thought I'd show you just an example of the Sikhs and Muslims fighting. Southall Sikh attacks Muslims in feud. Sikhs and Muslims live in harmony, because it's so rare. They have an article about it. And here are the breakdowns of all of that. Okay, they're not Muslims, all right? Let's continue here with another report. Obama has staged shootings before. Is Sikh event false flag? Got to look at that. Key video where I show examples of our own government nerve gassing our own troops and killing them. If they do that to our own troops, they will stage shootings. Get that through your head. John Rappaport's got a great article. Shooting at Sikh temple, who benefits big time. That's at Infowars.com and NoMoreFakeNews.com. We've got a bunch of other important reports, again, up there going over all this. The eyewitnesses reporting the multiple shooters. Please get this out to everyone. But I broke down an hour or two after the shooting yesterday the three different scenarios. And either way, it's provocateur, because they hype that Muslims are coming to get us so much that people are looking for the classic Central Asian dress of the turban and the beard. And no Muslims in the United States that I've ever seen actually dress with a turban on their head like al-Qaeda bin Laden. So when they see a Sikh with a beard and a colorful turban, it is like a big bass seeing the most juicy lure it's ever seen in its life. They just attack. Just the frothing begins. And that's an example of how television can basically be a form of mind control and propaganda itself. And so our prayers go out to the Sikhs that were killed and to any Muslims that have been killed via all this hype, but also Christians who are being killed via this clash of civilization, and Jews and everybody else. It's time to come together against the globalist. It's time to understand it's divide and conquer. That's how we're being controlled. It's how the Romans did it thousands of years ago. It's how the British Empire did it hundreds of years ago. They brag they're doing it. That's what's happening. And to all the good old boys, in closing, who are like, I don't care, they got turbans, kill them. They're going to use this to take your guns. And I want to just add this. It's in the London Guardian, the Associated Press, that al-Qaeda is the main force landed by NATO, flown in to Libya and now Syria, and that our government is running al-Qaeda, just like they did in the 80s and in the 90s against the Serbs, and just like they use them to scare us into submission. They are the magic skeleton key that the globalists use to open every door and take our liberty. Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com.